The Harlem Renaissance. Harlem, the African-American neighborhood in New York City, is famous for soul food institutions, jazz clubs, and African-American heritage. This place has a unique association with the advancement of African-American music, dance, art, fashion, literature, theater, and politics. The migration of minds happened in 1924, when Charles Spurgeon Johnson sent solicitations to African-American artists to attend a festival of literature ability in Harlem. Johnson was the editor of the National Urban League's journal, Opportunity. Almost all of the invited poets were unknown. Extremely talented writers like Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes got a chance to meet well-established people. For example, Eugene O'Neill, James Weldon Johnson, and W.E.B. Du Bois. This successful event is considered one of the turning points of the Harlem Renaissance, a renewal, revival, and blossom of African-American culture. The winds of change blew with the purpose of getting the deserving position in America. This Renaissance produced stars, and new styles were added to art. People started using art as a language to express their feelings and emotions. The beliefs gained a way to exhibit in the form of music, poetry, and other art forms. The Harlem Renaissance was nothing less than a chance for talented minds. The migration served as an escape from blocked minds, grabbed in poverty and misery. Africans have experienced unconditional racism and discrimination. This time, from the 1920s to 1930s, allowed them to speak their hearts out. It was a time of innovativeness and innovators. For example, Jacob Lawrence was one of the most impactful artists of this era. He modernly painted the daily life of African Americans. He developed a new style of art and made his way to the galleries of New York City. This time is marked as the golden period for African American writers. The power of depicting truths and portraying reality appeared in their words. Writers tried different genres. Some kept writing in standard English, but mostly the literature revolved around the feelings of African Americans. They highlighted that the pain and agony faced by them due to discrimination and racism should not have been neglected. County Cullen was essential for the broad circle of writers that dwelled in Harlem during the 1920s and 1930s. Cullen published his assortment of poems, Color, in 1925. He got incredible appreciation and proceeded to turn into an associate supervisor at Charles S. Johnson's diary, Opportunity. The success stories of the Harlem Renaissance don't stop here. This era has made nothing but artists. Several influential women writers emerged during the Harlem Renaissance. For instance, Nella Larson composed two of the most popular books to emerge from the Harlem Renaissance. These are Quicksand and Passing. The two books investigate the mental parts of being biracial in the early piece of the 20th century. They are based, to some extent, on Larson's experience as the offspring of a Danish mother and a colored father. She also spotlighted the difference in social treatment towards the upper and lower classes. It would not be wrong to call it a celebration. It is a celebration of African American art, where hundreds of people gather to raise voices. The literature was specifically used to change the world's stance about Black culture. It was the time to break stereotypes and create new images. Despite getting this tremendous success, the journey was not easy. A writer, Zora Neale Hurston, wrote novels explaining the relationship and culture of African Americans. Her companions did not accept her work initially. She was exposing injustice, racism, and discrimination due to cultural differences. These were not the things peers wanted to read. Zora kept writing as she was inspired by the movement. She availed the chance to remove veils from the damaged faces of society. Spreading truths was her motive. The Harlem Renaissance flooded the streets of Harlem with music, literature, dance, paintings, and photographs. It was a flag and symbol of Black people. With the ideology of changing the world's perspective about Black people, they did so much. The photography artist, James Van Der Zee, spent the 1920s and 1930s recording individuals and roads of Harlem. In 1917, Van Der Zee opened a photography studio with the help of his companion in Harlem. For many years, he took multitudinous pictures of individuals of the Renaissance, including Bill Bojangles Robinson, Countee Cullen, Jack Johnson, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., just as Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association marched. From nothing to something extremely influential, members of the Harlem Renaissance worked together for the new beginnings. Breaking cages of colorism and humiliation, they discovered paths to independence. The days of achievement let the world know the importance and significance of African Americans. The cause of promoting equal rights was well accomplished by using music, literature, and paintings. The Harlem Renaissance was the time of experimentation, and the articulation of music in the African American people was famous. Jazz music and the blues turned into the primary music style for African Americans. Utilizing the new Negro idea, dark performers of the Harlem Renaissance tried to utilize music to enable dark culture and change society. Jazz artists center on the festival of culture and life, while the blues zeroed in additionally on the feelings of individuals. Music is the general language that could affect anybody regardless of race or sexual orientation. Therefore, jazz was one of the main supporters of the Harlem Renaissance, since it helped break social limits, and it additionally featured that the piano was for everybody. This music was an indispensable component of the Harlem Renaissance. Louis Armstrong was one of the most influential male jazz trumpeters, arrangers, and entertainers who was able to engage each and every individual who went to watch him. Duke Ellington was another dominant performer. The music tends to bring an energetic change and induce a wave of positivity in public. This literary movement was and is crucial for African Americans. It shattered the racial pride and grew the thought that humans are not bound to social standards. There are no boundaries based on race, creed, or color. African art grew and spread throughout the world.